But the thing that's been important about this election is that it comes on the heels of a national election where people got addicted to the horse race, got addicted to going to websites, got addicted to like wanting data, 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 data. And from the first moment that this was seen, the relative closeness, it became impossible to predict the outcome at the end of it. And every day, the newspapers report who's ahead, who's behind, who's moved up, who's moved down, and it's false information. And even here, Joe's on TV a lot, but he keeps saying, Franken can't make this up. You don't know. And we have that national election, and the way people have gotten hooked into it as partially responsible for all of this kind of flutter about who's ahead, who's behind. There's between 4,000 and 5,000 challenge ballots. There's over 1,000, errors on absentee ballots that are clear. There are a number of things that need to go to court that are different, that need a serious look. It is not possible to feed the media's desire to have specific who is up, who is down in this circumstance. Early on, I gave up complaining about this, but it's the truth. Nobody knows, and I'm glad nobody knows. So we've learned a lot of things that will guide improvements. I've said we have the great system. People say this around the country. I don't just believe it, I know it. But we've also put an electron microscope on this. Actually, I grew up with an electron microscope in my house, so I actually know what that is. And we've discovered some things that are really important to change. I went out on a limb and did a lot of work to strongly increase voting by our soldiers, by our military personnel, by our seniors, by our students. I think that our increase in voting from overseas that was successful is fourfold. I'm not happy that a lot of soldiers have been unable to get their votes in or came in 1 day late or 2 days late or didn't try. I got letters, some of whom have gone to the governor first and then to me, from soldiers in Afghanistan who just got stiffed by their counties, stiffed. But we improved it a lot. But we also implied to them that their vote would be counted if they did what was required of them. And that's turned out to be not true. And I have people tell me, well, they can just go to court. Well, maybe that's a jobs program for lawyers. But the court system is already in crisis. And I'm supposed to tell a soldier in Baghdad, you get yourself a lawyer and sue Ramsey County? That's an unreasonable thing. Minnesotans will not stand for that. So we've learned things we have to fix. Some we have to fix in the short run for credibility's sake. Some we have to fix in the long run for ease of future elections. But we've probably doubled the number of absentee ballots from '06 in terms of physical numbers. We didn't really train at the local level, at the election judge level, about some of the things to expect when you have a big increase of volume, especially from overseas. We have things we have to improve. That's what's great about a recount, is that you learn about the things that can and must be improved. But you don't know the outcome until it's done. And anybody who says otherwise is just not true. And I can tell you from the beginning, the attempt to place a cloud over the recount as a strategy, very effective strategy in Florida, and they used it to stop the recount. It's such a shame that they call the movie about Florida Recount, because it's really about how to kill a recount, how to kill a mockingbird. But in Minnesota, that first attempt of strategy to kill a recount by either public pronouncements like give up or Mark Ritchie is a communist or whatever was disgraceful. But when they started saying that about our local election officials, it went past disgraceful. It was intolerable. And I spoke out about it as strongly as I could. And as of yesterday, people continue to repeat the lie about Minneapolis and about the very, very, very dedicated election director. As recently as 2 weeks ago, our Congresswoman repeated that lie. So that early attempt may not have been successful in killing this recount, but it was very successful in spreading lies. I don't care about lies about me. I'm an old person. I'm not a politician. This is not my life. My life is family, farms, and agriculture. But for professional election officials at the local level, lies about them, perpetuated to place a cloud over the recount for whatever purposes somebody might have, fundraising at the national level, trying to kill the recount, whatever, is not okay. And there will be more to say about this going forward, particularly because some of the lies have not been cleaned up by the people who started them. We are in a very delicate moment in this process, very delicate moment. We've discovered that about 10% of our absentee ballots were rejected in error. That's a big number, mostly from overseas, but not all. We've also discovered that one of our packets missing in Minneapolis is a huge problem. Not actually, because we have the tapes, we have the poll register, we have triple redundancy, not a real problem, but from a public relations point of view, a real problem. We also have the problem of the tit-for-tat challenge game designed primarily for national fundraising spin. It's down to 4,000 and some. I'd love it if it came down a lot more, because these are frivolous challenges, primarily. Any of you who've gone to that fantastic Star Tribune website can see that. But these are very busy people. I asked the 4 top jurists, Supreme Court justices and judges, to take time from their real work. And they have people's lives in their hands, they have people's fortunes in their hands, people's businesses in their hands, their homes, their personal lives. And I'm not going to waste 1 minute of their time on frivolous challenges, but I face many thousands of frivolous challenges and the problem of sorting those out. So it's a delicate time. Every step has to be transparent. The campaigns are famous now for claiming in the paper that they're saving my office time and money by withdrawing challenges. Unfortunately, they don't say that they've already had to be copied, they've already had to be scanned, that we now have to go open up packets and find those ballots and find out what the election official originally determined was the intent of that voter and then change the database. Withdrawal of ballots actually creates, in some senses, the same or possibly more work. I'm thrilled that they're withdrawing frivolous challenges. I'm not happy that they happened. On one day, in one little county, there were 801 challenges. That's a form of disrespect of the process that seems to me over the line. The lawyers do have a job to defend their clients, to advocate their campaign positions as strongly as they can, but there are limits. Lying and attempting to smear the reputation of election officials is over the limit from my point of view. 801 challenges on one day in one little county is over the limit from my point of view. But the law doesn't put this into my hands. The law puts this in a series of statutes that are quite clear. It puts some of the decisions in a state canvassing board, which is, I'm the only Democrat. We got some independents, we got some nonpartisans, we got some, real serious Republicans. We got the best people in the state. And there's always the recourse of the courts or the Senate at the end of the process if somebody isn't happy with our work. Governor Quee came over one day and told some really amazing recount stories. His first race, actually, his first federal race was recounted. They brought a committee out from Washington. And what he said to me at the end was, you know, what your standard should be is that you've done it so well that no one has the nerve to take it to court or take it to the Senate. That's the standard that we are applying in our day-to-day work on this particular recount. There's a lot of decisions and things to be made, but hopefully by the holidays, we will know how the people of Minnesota voted on November 4th. Thank you.